I'm live. Cool. Um, just wanted to get on, but I'm going to give a couple of minutes until it is officially 11 o'clock to get started. So I'm going to fold that blanket. Just getting situated. Checking the light. I think I need a little less light here. That's better. Yeah. Cool. This is my first time doing a YouTube live, so technology and such. Yeah, but I guess before I officially get started, want to express some gratitude to everyone who watches this, either live or after the fact. And I want to express gratitude for the folks that have been using technology this whole time in different ways, because I'm just getting into it. And man, does it, as a mover, as a dancer, as a teacher, does it turn your stuff upside down and also offer so many interesting new ways of presenting information. So I think that's pretty cool, and I'm grateful for those of you who have inspired me to, after about a year of not really engaging with it, trying it out. So it's really cool. All right, just a few more minutes until 11. I'm just going to take some time to stretch and move. Feel free to do that in your spaces, to arrive however you might need to arrive. And yeah. Well, I was going to say according to my phone, it's 10:59. According to the computer, it's 11. But it is 11 on both now. So we shall begin. All right. So I'm going to start with what's real for me, because what I'm sharing about, what I feel like is really interesting and exciting about what a lot of people are finding out about movement and our nervous system, is connected to what exists within that relationship that helps us be present to what's real for us. And what's powerful about that is I think there's also a lot of stimulus around us and moving through us that challenges our knowing of what's real, or our level of certainty as to what's real, or an experience of so many things being real at once that we can't manage the onslaught of stimulus in a world that has a lot of opportunity to throw stimulus our way. So what's real for me is that I'm excited because I am a nerd. I have studied dance and movement since I was a little one. I have studied dance movement therapy and counseling in grad school. I've studied sociology and narrative dance and cultural dance forms that use narrative, specifically hula. And I have independently studied neuroscience because they're all linked, and because I just have always known that movement has this really powerful capacity to do a lot of different things. But the thing I'm going to talk about today is the way that movement supports our connection to ourselves, our understanding of our experience of the world, in a way that generates messages that let us know what we need. And like I said, with the amount of stimulus that we experience on any given day, and the amount that, particularly at this time, the amount of that stimulus that is stressful, or that presses up against other aspects of our stress, that's maybe not related to this moment, but related to something that happened in our past, and thus something we're scared might happen again in the future, it becomes too much. And so generating a capacity to be with our experience strengthens our capacity to respond to what we're experiencing. Yeah, so that's my little brief synopsis as to why what I'm about to kind of break down in a couple different ways is important to me, and important, I believe, in this time. And I'm really excited because if you follow me, by the way, I'm Biz, or Wandering Ministry, which is the work of myself and Matt Hoffman on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, or I feel like we have we have a website. If you follow us, we're thinking about these things, but it's really exciting because there's lots of folks thinking about this right now. And so I posted an article that was published in the New York Times on the 22nd of this month about the incredible importance of slowing down in order to even be remotely aware of what's happening in our bodies. And they put it in the context of living through a pandemic, living through political upheaval, living through times of intense racism and white supremacy and all of that, that creates a daily set of circumstances that amplifies everything we experience. And so I'm going to start with, what is the nervous system? The nervous system is a complex collection of nerves and cells called neurons that work together to help us understand what's happening in us and around us. There's two major parts of that. There's a functioning part of it that processes involuntary functions of our body, so they're aware of the blood that's flowing or our breathing patterns. And now, to some extent, it's arguable that we do have the ability to feel into that and alter the way that our breath moves through our bodies. And even meditation and mindfulness practices can support our blood pressure and how our blood moves through our bodies. But largely those functions are involuntary. If you didn't give them any thought at all, your body would still do them to some extent. Maybe not as efficiently and as effectively as one would hope, but those functions will occur. And then there's also the parts that are happening voluntarily, the more somatic parts that are related to our nerves, related to what we feel. And the nerves connect to the spinal cord in the brain by way of muscles and sensory receptions in the skin. And so we feel when it's cold, when it's hot. When we touch a pan that's been in the oven, it's hot, and our brain immediately responds like, oh, I should let go of that. That's part of our nervous system. It's set up to protect us. It's set up to generate this receiving of stimulus that gets sent to our brain, that then allows our brain to make a decision about what we do. And the more engaged we are with that process, the more sensitive we are, the quicker we can make a response. And this is the thing that's cool. I'm actually going to find my dorky quote. There is a Harvard University postdoctorate fellow, Roger Beatty, I believe his name is. He says that people who are better able to co-activate all of these sensory experiences at once can come up with the most creative responses to them. Number one, he said creative, not best, creative. That's exciting to me. Essentially, the nervous system takes in the stimulus so that we can make a choice as to how we respond. Now, the longer that takes, in some instances, like grabbing the pan from the oven, the longer it takes to realize it's hot and choose to let go of it, the worse the burn is on our hand. And with regard to other situations in which we're engaged in the world, engaged with other people, engaged with an environment, creative solutions, rather than better or worse, but creative solutions lead to different outcomes. And the more creativity we can engage with, the more I believe we can learn, we can strengthen our abilities, we can essentially be powerful and engaged in our environment in ways that my hope is create more good in the world. Because we're kind of like, well, we can do it this way and the outcome's not going to be great, or we can do it this way and like everybody will be happy. Like somewhere in between is more realistically where we exist in our responses to our nervous system. Because there's a lot of factors, and perfection is challenging when there's that many factors at play. So this deeply relates to what I want to talk about in terms of how movement plays a role in this exploration of understanding our nervous system. Because I grew up in a culture of dance that was very performative, that had a certain way of moving, that you were trying to move that particular way and move in unison with other people. And it's beautiful and it's art, and I adore dance and all its forms. But the movement that I've been really excited about more recently is movement generated from that space of external and internal awareness. It's powerful to me to feel connected to what's happening inside of me, what I'm experiencing inside of me, in coordination with what's happening outside of me. Who's outside of me? What objects are around me? While keeping that connection internally as well. So, movement offers us an opportunity, if we allow ourselves to slow down, to hear it. That article in the New York Times, I believe the title of it was Slowing Down. And that is essential to the first part of the process, which is one of listening. So at this point, I invite us to take a moment to engage with that listening process. I'm just going to guide us through a simple, short meditation. So we can just find a position of sitting, laying down, standing even, whatever's comfortable for you in this moment. And if it feels right to close your eyes, great. If you'd rather keep them open, that's totally fine also. I'm going to close my eyes, just kind of helps me to go into my sensory experience. And I'm just bringing my awareness without changing it to my breath. One of the involuntary processes I engage in. And I'm just noticing the inhale and the exhale. Even with the simple act of breathing, we can immediately start to notice where there's tension in our bodies. Where maybe in our process of slowing down, our mind becomes a little more active. And again, in this moment, We're just listening, just noticing, not making any attempts to change what's occurring. There's nothing wrong with what's here. And now we're going to let our awareness of our environment come in, noticing any sounds, smells, tactile experiences, maybe the part of our body that is resting against a surface, even the feeling of our clothing against our skin. Again, just being curious, just listening to what's there as part of arriving in this moment. And as we're taking that sensory experience in, our breath is still with us as we go in and out of awareness of it. Occasionally coming back to it with intention. And then continuing our exploration. Now we're going to move our awareness inside of our bodies. Again, we can use the breath to notice areas of tension, discomfort. We need to rearrange our body, which I'm actually going to do right now. Feel free to do that. And from our breath, listen to what's happening inside. Can we feel into the beating of our hearts? Our stomachs and intestines digesting food. Our minds having thoughts, making connections, thinking about what comes next, thinking about what happened earlier. Once again, none of the sensations are wrong. You simply notice what's there as part of coming into an awareness of what is here right now. You may even notice the longer we stay in this stillness, sensations or thoughts around how long will we stay here for. In this practice, we do our best to notice every sensation and understand it and acknowledge it. No need to change it. It's just part of what is here. Before we emerge from this space, I'd love for us to really draw our awareness to a space inside of us that we can consider our center. I am feeling this space right around my belly button. Placing my hands on my belly button is helping me hold an awareness of that space. And wherein we began this exploration, noticing everything around us, I'm actually going to generate an awareness of my center reaching out beyond me, as well as everything beyond me reaching out into me. We're just going to take 3 breaths there. Feeling suspended in that center space. Feeling held in that center space. Then slowly draw your awareness back out to include your sensory experience of the sounds and smells and feels of the world around you. And slowly, if your eyes are closed, open them to take in the visual experience as well. So thank you for doing that meditation with me. That's the beginning of the process that I've been exploring recently. And it's important because it's our baseline. It's what's real here and now in this moment. And I know in my explorations and in my practice across the years, I have had to do a lot of work just to get there, just to give myself permission to be here now in my body. And I think there's a lot of reasons why we struggle with that. And I am going to do more videos kind of breaking down all of the things that I bring up in this video today, even further to their constituent parts. But for now, I'm going to just go through all of this in broader strokes to introduce it. And I'm really looking forward to going in deeper with all of it. But listening is the first part of the process so that we can understand where we are. It takes moving slow and it takes finding stillness in moments to, my hope is that we first and foremost what sorry, pausing because it's saying I know even in that meditation we just did, I noticed this like pulsing energy inside my body. Let's feel into how it expresses itself through me. I can attempt to change it. Oh my gosh, it sounds really intense. We're seen in that moment and it can feel super within that space of whatever's there, whatever you find. Attempting to not just pick than it does here. And so essentially we're trying to pick up these awarenesses and turn them over real about it. It's a regular kind of mission in the trying to determine, is it a dog or is it a bear? Depending on, it's about creating patterns and building from that experience of what we've found and what we understand of it. Start playing with it. To start more, again, when it comes to moving our bodies, what can I do with this? My body, and repetition being important. I do it slow, it feels a different way. And it's in the repeating that what happens when, oh, I can't go any further that way, but I can go further this way, and I can go this way when I'm here. And taking the time to get to know all, and doing so over a long period of time in different ways to generate the first step hunt. I've collected these things that I've noticed about my body that could include tension or body nerve beings. In this process, something that's really helpful is quality of movements. And a number of different present is kind of a conglomeration of all the elements of those forms that I move with greater efficiency. And for the time being, I'm just going to go through these qualities of movement. That I've just categorized for simplicity's sake. And I want to share them with you with an awareness that the movement that we do in any given task or part of our day is a combination of a lot of different elements of these. And so I want to share them with you, because I think if you think about it as you keep going day, you'll notice you're already engaged in these qualities. These are just the way we move our bodies. You can't dance background our experience, our capabilities are limited, our rate, and list of movement, because within each of these categories,